You're welcome to the Market Review, where we discuss key developments in the financial and capital market as it affects the economy. Today, we'll be looking at unlocking growth in the Nigerian capital market through the unlisted OTC market. My guest is Mr. Eguarekhide Longe, MD, NASD PLC. Nice to have you on the program, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to an interesting conversation on what's happening in the unlisted OTC market and what NASD is doing.
I'll try to make it interesting.
Thank you very much. But before we go into this conversation, let's give you some interesting stories from last week. First is that Power PLC made history as the first electricity generating company to be listed on the main board of the Nigeria exchange. It listed 2.5 billion naira ordinary shares on the main board at the price of 100 naira. We'll get further updates as the days unfold and activities round that listing. But it is a very significant move and part of efforts to boost capital market activities as stakeholders and analysts have made calls for more corporations to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Also last week, the Nigeria Exchange Limited hosted the Technology Board webinar, which focused on ways they can enable technology companies to achieve growth. The event was graced by Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, and also the Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability, Central Bank of Nigeria, Mrs. Aisha Ahmed. Those are some of the key stories from last week. If you're joining us, it's the Market Review, and we are discussing today unlocking growth in the Nigerian capital market through the unlisted OTC market. And my guest is Mr. Eguarekhide Longe, MD, NASD PLC. Mr. Eguarekhide, recently ProShare published an article, and we looked at Nigeria's market to GDP size, which is really low. It's below 50%, which is not so good for Africa's largest economy. We even saw the distribution, which is displayed on the screen across board from the NGX to FMDQ and the NSD. From your perspective, and of course, you're already now settling as the MD of NASD PLC, how can the unlisted OTC market support the growth of Nigeria in GDP size? Because we're looking at other developed economies like US, where they have over 100% market to GDP size. You may say it's very developed, but even South Africa is already there. How can the unlisted OTC market support this growth?
Okay, thank you. So let me just try and straighten this out a bit. The figure I have is 12.6% for market capitalization to GDP for Nigeria. South Africa is 331%.
Yeah.
The US market is 194, and I think that the British market is 162%. This is as of the end of 2020. So maybe the figures you have...
2020 is updated. That's
so maybe 2021. That means we've had some growth in the Nigerian market.
Yeah.
You know, but it's very easy to understand why. The more your capital market is integrated with the economy, the more, the higher your market capitalization to GDP will be.
Yeah.
So in the Nigerian market, a lot of companies or a lot of business activity, economic activity, is the capital market does not describe a lot of the economic activity.
Yeah.
And so we need to integrate the capital markets more with the economic activity. So you spoke about a GENCO that has been listed on the
main board of the Nigeria exchange.
NGX. Which is good progress, you know, but, you know, we need to involve the capital market more with turnkey sectors, transformative sectors. We've tended to shy away from those transformative sectors because of their large capital requirements. But if you don't think big and you don't plan with boldness, you will not be able to attain that. I mean, I think that's what has changed in the capital market. I think that the participants in the capital market realize that a lot rests with them. I mean, and until we actually make the capital market the center for capital mobilization and deployment to businesses and economic centers, we will still see slow growth because the money markets cannot really power the economy. And that's why you see the difference in size or effectiveness and efficiency in competing economies.
Yeah, I mean,
that have high capitalization to GDP.
I mean, what you said is really fundamental because recently the chairman of ProShare, Mr. Lufemi Awemi, MNI, alluded to this in his article on the impact of the capital market on Nigeria's economic growth, saying that we must position the capital market as the place for domestic capital formation, and that's very critical in this time. But let's look at for the NSD. This month we're having the World Investor Week, and we're seeing a lot of activities across board to create awareness and woo more investors, particularly the retail investors that we lost over the period of the recession 2007-2008. How is NSD also carrying out this phase in terms of investor activities, creating more awareness and getting people to understand the value of the market you're playing in?
It's a broad responsibility. So there are so many different sides. I think that the first side is really investor education. And even when you're speaking about investor education, you also need to be realistic and look at the economy you're operating in. This is a low productivity economy. It's a low savings economy. However, I think that we've done some things right. We've been able to generate savings in a structured way via pension.
And that's the industry.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because people say to me, "I'm now on the streets." So all of that, you were doing before, not listening to people who need capital. You're going to see how you're going to solve that now. But that's ill-advised. That's an interesting comment, but it doesn't really hold water in my view, because you see, capital will go to areas where it finds positivity, where it finds return. And the problem with our economy, or the problem with opportunities in this economy, are they're either too fragmented or they do not fit into the structure that the pension funds objectives require. Okay. So what the capital market community needs to do is to originate that content that can utilize the savings that has been accumulated. And the savings that has been accumulated is really not significant when you look at all that needs to be done.
We need to mobilize more.
Let's talk about the mortgage sector, which is a sector I'm really passionate about. The mortgage sector is easily, at a minimum, 3 trillion naira. Think about it. 17, I mean, it's not difficult to calculate that. I mean, they say this thing we tout all the time, 17 million housing deficit. Yeah. So let's say an average house is 15 million. Yeah, you could say it's less, but what kind of house will that be? So let's say 15 million. 15 times 17, 15 million times 17 million, do the calculation. Yeah. You know, so you're talking about a huge industry. Now the industry has very serious complications. And what I find with most of the practitioners who try to mobilize capital is that they tire too easily. Now, it's not a one-step solution. There's several steps that you need to build, and many things key into other things that then provide the catalysts to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've often said that if you want to really generate value in the housing and mortgage finance sector, you need to have an integrated transport system. Because most of the housing that you're going to get, which if you want to call it affordable housing, is not going to be in the city center. Yeah. It's going to be distances away from where people work. And you need to move people logically, efficiently, to and fro. So for instance, if we took a concession on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, all of that territory is housing development territory. So if people can work in Lagos, I mean, live in Ibadan and work in Lagos, it changes the dynamics.
Yeah.
That's what capital markets should be doing in conjunction with governments. You know, you don't get this just by sitting down. You need to have engagement.
That handshake
is
very important.
You need to visualize it.
Yeah.
you need to plan it, and then you need to see how you can make it work, and it can transcend generations. But you have to start now.
But in 1 minute, just tell us about the current your investor awareness series and activities that is being done by the NASD, because every layer of the exchanges and the market, they are carrying out activities. How is it from your end?
Oh, so we are originating. It's not going to be executed during the investor week because we've been planning it, and unfortunately we kind of overran. I mean, there's been a bit of a transition in NASD, so there's been a bit of an overrun. But we intend to organize competitions for schools.
Very good.
We intend to speak to the younger generation, and in fact, we also intend to speak to the people you spoke about, the tech, the people who are tech inclined. It's a totally different world there.
Definitely.
So it's important for us to know how they think, and see how we can bring solutions from our platform to be able to get their ideas to see the light of day. And these are some of the things we're doing. So you'd see that in the next few weeks and I'd say months. It's something. It's the investor week, but then it's also something. I mean, we need to do this more consistently. Because what is required is deepening of this awareness, and it's not something that we'll do only for the investor week.
We need a vibrant market that is very inclusive. What should the investment committee expect from the NASD now that Mr. Eguarekhide Longe is at the helm of affairs? I mean, attracting and supporting economic activities in the country. Like you said, the capital market has a big role to play, and there's a lot to be done.
So it's not about me. So let's take me out of the picture.
There's a transition, but I understand.
I understand. So
and the interesting part is life as an institutional investor at the pension side, you're transiting to the mainstream.
Oh yes. So there's a system at NASD. I mean, a system really well laid out by the pioneer team. So it's about building on that system. But I think that the demands on the new team are really demands that I have described. We need to integrate more with the Nigerian economy. So we need to look at sectors and see how we are able to bring value to those sectors. I mean, there are a few sectors we're interested in. I mentioned one already, the mortgage and housing sector, which is in my mind intermingled with the logistics and transportation sector. There's also the interesting sector, which you are a part of, the entertainment and media creatives. It's also a nebulous sector. You can't touch it. How do you resource that sector? But that's the job of a capital market practitioner, an investment banker. How do you originate value, put it in the right package, and then you now break it up into small pieces that you can hand to investors to power. That's how it is done. You have to have a mindset of building, and that's what we're going to do. There's the agricultural sector, which really is not our major focus, but I think our focus really is providing catalysts for that sector. We're more interested in how we can help entrepreneurs connect with the export markets. How can we prepare entrepreneurs to resource their businesses and be able to interact efficiently and efficiently with the export markets, so they can boost their capacity. I mean, and of course, we're not going to do that alone. There are quite others. We're very ambitious. We think also that if you look at big economies, none of them has grown without two key sectors: mortgage and housing, and the automotive sector. We think that the automotive sector is one that we can actually make an impact in. It looks ambitious, but it is very possible.
Very ambitious, but like you said, it's very possible. But let's, as we ramp up now, ProShare has been carrying out this survey. I mean, it's a very interesting survey. This is the 8th edition we're doing on the online trading platforms ranking across the market. Now, one of the interesting revelations from this whole exercise is the need for distributed ledger technology to be adopted, as we see emerging technologies driving the market. So what are your thoughts around adoption of the DLT to improve activities in the capital market?
Yeah, so technology is actually an enabler. And if there isn't anything to enable, then technology is actually vacuous. But DLT is blockchain, and blockchain is revolutionizing a lot of things. Blockchain DLT has three key areas of importance as far as I see. It enables speed, it enables security, and it enables cost reduction because of the fact that you don't have to have too many intermediaries who you have to pay. Now, on the back of these concepts, you need to put in content, you know. It's also, one other thing it also does is fractionalization.
Yeah.
You can sell securities to an absolute minutiae, you know, and you can sell it effectively because of the technology underlying it, you know. So we understand that. We already have a solution to that. We have something in play, and we're hoping that we'll be permitted to bring it to the benefit of the Nigerian market so that you can have transactions happen on T+0 rather than T+3 that we have today. We really hope that we will be allowed to display what we have prepared. And I think it will change the way transactions are done. But that's just the process. We also have to go and do the work of bringing in the content.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eguarekhide Longe, MD of NASD PLC. I mean, it's interesting to hear the bullish plans you have, even venturing into sectors like automotive. I mean, but at least you've laid the emphasis on mortgage, housing, and of course, entertainment and media, and broadening the sectors is very key. So we'll continue to monitor activities in NASD PLC and wish you all the best as you carry on board, even leveraging technology like blockchain. Thank you once again for the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that will be all for this edition of the Market Review. You heard the conversation on how Nigeria's capital market can achieve deeper growth through the unlisted OTC markets. But if you want to get further insights into this conversation, you can follow our website displayed on the screen, www.proshare.co. And also you can send your questions, suggestions, or views around what we discussed today to the email displayed on your screen. Also, ProShare this period is carrying out a survey on the online trading platform ranking. It's the 8th edition and we'd like you to participate. Follow our social media platforms displayed on the screen to get further updates on how you can participate in this. It's quite rich for us as we continue to embrace technology, transforming our market. You can also follow what's happening on the NASD PLC, the Unlisted OTC Market, or captured on ProShare, Nigeria's leading financial information hub. And that'll be all for this conversation for today. Thank you for being part of the show. Until we come your way again, have a lovely day.